Hello everyone, you might have heard of microcore and services. That's the type of software development architecture widely used nowadays, but what essentially is it all about? To illustrate that, I will now create a simple monolithic application and then demonstrate how to extract its core and modularize its features as the services. Okay, so let's create a simple line-oriented text editor. I want to provide the buffer and it's going to be equal to just an empty list. And now let's provide some user interaction loop here. So I want to print, say, what would you like to do? And provide some options here. So, for instance, like, one insert line, and then two delete line, and three list lines. Okay, or just let's call print lines. Right, so now we want to take the user input. So user input equals to input, and provide the prompt here. So if user input is equal to 1, we want to say buffer dot insert, and then the index, and then the line itself. So let's call it line. So here let's say user line equals to input, and type in, well actually yeah, let's print it better. Let's bring it here. So insert line. So here I can say line equals to input. So here it's a bit better to say like your choice. And here to actually input the line, do it like this. Okay, great. So buffer insert the line, and also want to say index is equal to input, and let's say line index, and which one? So here we do index and we do the line. Great. Okay, now we can say else if user input is equal to 2. In this case, we want to delete the line, so we need the index from the user. So index is going to be equal to input line index, and then we want to say delete buffer index by the index, like this. And finally, last but not least, I can say else if user input is equal to 3, and I've just noticed typo here. So if it's equal to 3, in this case we just want to say for line in buffer, we just want to print the line. That's pretty much all about it. So let's right quit and say python 3 editor.py. Okay, as if syntax error, so colon, okay, oh sorry, elif, yeah, obviously, elif, okay, invalid syntax, yeah, what have I done? Okay, and yeah, here we go. Nope, still not. If user input, so many typos. So many typos. Okay, so what would you like to do? So let's say list lines. Okay, no lines. Now I want to insert the line, and line index 0, and let's say hello world. Okay, string cannot be interpreted as integer. Yeah, that's because the index, we need to turn this into the integer. Okay, and also index here, turn this to integer. It's clear editor, Python 3. Okay, so insert line index 0, hello world. Okay, insert line index 1, and this is line 2. Now I want to list the lines, and you see this hello world, and this is line 2 has been printed. So now let's, for instance, I want to delete the line. I want to delete the line 0 and list list the line. So now you can only see your choice 3. This is line 2. And now if I want to again delete the line, and the line again, this now it should turn into index 0 again, and now 3, so there are no more lines left in the text buffer. Okay, now let's have a look at the source code one more time. So this is an example of the monolithic program. So the entire application lives literally within the while loop. What's the downside of this approach? So let's say I want to change something in the functionality. So this might have happened that whatever change I bring in, it might already, well, potentially, not in this program in particular, but potentially it might affect the functionality that already is available here. So, and further on, if you want to add something, if this is a huge code base, you need to make sure that the code you're supposed to add is not going to break anything, that it will align with the design principles and all the stuff being available in the original project. So that's sort of a pain. So it's not scalable in an easy way, and like maintaining this sort of a monolithic base might be quite complicated. So the alternative to this approach is microcore and services, and now let's rewrite this particular application using the API as the core and a few Python scripts as the services. So I create a file called editor api.py, and I'm going to be using Flask, so I can say from Flask import Flask, and create the application equals to Flask whatever name is, and let me provide the basic route here. So app route, and this is going to be the root route, and def, let's call it intro, and here want to return, and let's return a string, and here we'll say let's say something like welcome to the text editor. Here are the API endpoints available to you. So we have like slash insert line slash delete line and slash let's say change line. Yeah, we didn't actually implement that in the monolithic version of the editor, but it doesn't matter, so we'll do it here now. And this is obviously going to be like HTTP localhost, and the port is going to be 5000. That's the default port for Flask. All right, so paste it here and here. Okay, and now we want to say app.run, and I want to say the debug equals to true, so that we could dynamically change the source code of this HTTP server running our API. Right, quit and Python 3 editor API py, and here we go. Now how can we test this? So for instance, I can use the curl, which is the cool Linux utility to do like HTTP GET post whatever requests. So I can simply say localhost and port number 5000, and it gives me exactly the response from the root endpoint of our API. So greeting the user and giving him an idea of how to use this particular API. So now let's actually implement these particular endpoints that are listed within these greetings. So I can say again ego and editor API py, and here I just want to add some more routes. So I can say app route, and this is going to be insert, and well, let's use the post method here. So specify the methods here. So it's going to be taking the post method, and let's just scroll it down a little bit like this. So def insert line, and here we want to do what we did in the monolithic version. So I can say buffer dot insert, and now we need to extract some data here. So I can say index is going to be equal to request.form.get, and we're taking the index from here, and the line is going to be equal to request.form.get, and the line will now provide this information. So index line request form. We need to make sure that we do import the request here. Okay, and also we need to create the buffer. So buffer equals to like this. Okay, so, and it also should return something. So return, let's say line has been successfully added. Okay, buffer insert at the given index. We want to insert a given line. So this is it. Now another one. So here I can say app route, and here we want to delete. So is that the case? Yeah, actually it's insert line, delete line. So root root insert line and root delete line, and here methods want to specify the delete like this, and here the extraction method is going to be a little bit different. So index is going to be equal to request.args.get, and want the index. Once we got the index, we can then, yeah, actually this should be integer. Make sure this is going to be an integer, or otherwise it's not going to work. And also it's going to be an integer here. And now we can say delete buffer index by the index, and want to return a line has been successfully deleted. Okay. Yeah, we forgot to add one more route here. So let's say http localhost 5000. The very important one, the most important one, is to list lines, or let's say print lines. Okay, So delete lines. Okay. Now let's provide app root, and here want to change line, and methods going to be equal to, let's say, put method here. Okay. And again, the index is going to be like reused from here. No, not from here, from here. Index is being extracted exactly the same way, and the line as well. So copy the line, paste the line here. And again, this is actually the same functionality, so I just want to insert. So literally, like insert the line could have sort of act as the change line, but I just used a different method here just to make it a bit more didactic, let's say. So paste it here, and yes, return. And line has been successfully changed. Okay, and finally, yeah, last but not least is the API to print the lines. So here I want to say app route and print lines. So do this properly, hopefully, and methods is equal to HTTP get in this case. So def print lines is a callback function here. So for line in buffer, want to no, not print line. So let's say response is equal to line. So here I want to say response actually plus equals line like this, and we want to return the response this way. Okay, let's see if our server is actually still running. Okay, insert line, something wrong there, line 30, insert line, yeah, shouldn't call functions like this, right, quit. Alright, index, unexpected indentation, line 37, let's have a look. Oh yeah, obviously that's because I forgot to specify the callback function here. So function delete line, and did I miss it anywhere else? Yeah, and here def change line. Yeah, don't forget to specify the callback function names, otherwise it's not going to work. Quit, and okay, now the server is up and running. Now it's time to implement microservices, and we'll start by implementing the insert line one. So I can say ego and service insert line .py. So I want to import requests, and I can say requests dot insert is using post, if I'm not mistaken. So post, and the URL is http localhost port 5000, and then the data are the index, so index, and yeah, so we can ask user for an index here. So let's say input and let's say index like this, or even better, you know, like we'll just do it like index, and then the line is going to be like line. Now let's just print here, so service to insert lines into the remote buffer. So now here we want to say the index is equal to input, and say just say index and we'll have it. We don't even need to convert this to integer. This would be done within the API, has been demonstrated earlier. So then the line itself is input and like this. So we have the index, we have the line, request, post, and just to make sure that we have the response back from the server, I create the response variable here, and I say print response, right, quit. So let's try to run Python 3 and service insert line. Okay, something is wrong. Okay, here obviously colon. Okay, index 0. Okay, and let's say hello world. Okay, yeah, just a typo here. Oh, what have I done? Yeah, just forgot to specify the API endpoint. Obviously this doesn't work this way, so insert line, and I was trying to make a request to the root, which obviously doesn't support the post request because it supports the get request, HTTP get, to print the user greeting there. So now this hopefully will work, so let's go for it. So index 0, hello world. And yeah, line has been successfully added, so let's believe this is really the case. Let's do this one more time. So now index 1, for instance, and I can say this is line 2. Now we can't check it actually there because we don't yet have a service to do that job for us, so let's create it. So I can say ego and service print lines.py, and again I can say import requests, and here response is equal to requests.get and HTTP localhost port 5000, and I want to print lines. So get request and just print response.text. Now Python 3 service print lines. Okay, hello world, this is line 2. Okay, there is a slight issue here. So like there is no new line, and why is that happening? So let's check our API again. So here print lines. Yeah, that's because I forgot to add the new line. So edit and plus the new line. Okay, right, quit, and this should be updated automatically. So print lines. Yeah, probably because it has been updated, just reset the information. So let's start from scratch. So I can say Python 3 service insert line. Again 0 and hello world and 1, and this is line 2. Now I want to print lines, and yeah, now it works like a charm because we have the new line character as the separator for our strings, which is exactly the behavior we've been looking for. Great. So 2 more options left is to change the line and to delete the line. So now to cheat a little bit, I can simply say copy and service insert line, copy to service change line. And literally all we need to change here is service change line. So service to change lines in the buffer. So we just change the API endpoint. So change line, and this is going to be a put request in this case. Put like this. Okay, and the rest is the same, right? Quit. So okay, let's see. It's probably reloads every time. Yeah, there is nothing there. And let's also add the service the print lines, and service print lines edit print service to print lines from the buffer. Okay. And now again, cert line, yes, print lines from the buffer. Yeah, good. So Python 3 service insert line first. Okay, so 0 hello 1 world service now print. We got these two, and now service change lined up high. So the index, let's say index 1, so world, is about to be changed, like replaced with, let's say, friend. Okay, and again print lines. Yes, and now we got, oh, hold on a sec. Well, that's because, yeah, well, that's because it actually inserts. So I forgot to add one more little thing here. So ego and service change line. Or no, not even here. Not even here. It's actually within the API. I'm sorry. So ego editor API. So that's the bug within the API. So change line. So I don't want to insert. I want to say buffer index by the index is going to be equal to line. Okay, right, quit, and let's start again. So cert line 0 hello cert line 1 world. And now print lines hello world, and now change nope Python 3, so index 1 to be changed by friend, and print lines, yeah, we have hello friend instead of hello world now. Now, last but not least is to provide the functionality for deletion. So I want to say ego and service delete lines. Well, actually, it's not delete lines, but delete a single line. So yeah, delete line. So import requests. Response is going to be equal to requests.delete request http delete request here, and here I say http localhost port number 5000 delete lines or line. And here we do not have a form or like request body, we use the arguments instead. So we specify the index is equal to and now plus index like this. So print, so this is the service to delete lines. Okay, and index is equal to input, and prompt the user with index. Okay, and finally print a response dot text. Now let's try to run the, well, yeah, probably we're not going to, so there is nothing in the project again. So again, Python 3 service print lines, yeah, nothing there. So let's input a few again. So it just the debug mode, this reloads the server from scratch every time I make a single change in the current working directory. So that's the reason why it's working that way. So index 0 hello index 1 world, index index 2, some gibberish. Okay, so now print the lines. We got it here. So now service and delete line. Okay, service to delete lines. So index 0, 1, 2. So I want to delete the last gibberish I've added there. Index 2 line has been successfully deleted. Let's check whether that was the case actually. Print lines, and yeah, indeed this has been deleted. Well, okay, so that's basically it. Now, what's the major benefit of this architecture, you might be wondering? The gist idea behind it is that we have a pure microcore holding the state of the internal buffer, which does nothing but interacts with the API endpoints to provide the opportunities of altering the buffer. Since the core knows nothing about the services in terms of how they work internally, all it cares about is how to interface them. Now, the scalability of a given application is resolved by simply adding new API endpoints, which allows developing services separately from the core. And imagine how easily a big team of developers can be managed this way. You can simply assign a service per developer so that he can focus on his very own narrowed scope of work on the one hand and cannot accidentally break the entire system if something goes wrong with his service on the other. These benefits make microcore in services architecture very popular nowadays. Now, that being said, this is it from my side. Thanks for watching and cheers.